ETPrime Women Leadership Awards is about recognizing and saluting women who've shown exemplary qualities of enterprise, innovation, and excellence in various capacities. The selection of the winners was the task of a jury, and on it was Gautam Sinha, CEO, Times Internet, the digital arm of the Times of India Group, India's largest media company. So let's get his thoughts on the process and some of the issues that women face, and how he, as someone in leadership, thinks they can be tackled. Mr. Sinha, thanks very much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So what were you looking for in candidates to pick the winners in each of the categories of ETPrime Women Leadership Awards?
Sure. Some of the characteristics are generic, but some get specific depending on the functional area of the award that you're looking for. But at the basic, you're looking for someone who had made an outstanding change or achievement and stands out from the crowd, depending on whatever be the category that we are trying to evaluate. This is my third session of ETPrime Women Leadership Awards. And I have seen some fantastic women who have been part of the candidature to this leadership award. But one thing which is very important and is, does a person stand out amongst the group that we are trying to select from the basic characteristics of leadership? So if it's the first two or the first three categories, they are basically, person of the year, CEO of the year. It's primarily relates to the impact, the meaningful growth in the business, if that's the business they are running. And if it's a social achievement, what's the impact or the brand that they have been able to create for the country, or just for, just can they be the best role model for the women in India, for all of us to look upwards to, from that.
So ETPrime Women Leadership Awards, you've been part of this journey now. And as you said, it's been a couple of years that you've been there. And it is about acknowledging these women leaders and change makers. How do you think that the scope and the impact of it can be enhanced and deepened?
Sure. I think this is my favorite question, because I was one of the drivers of this and the primary sponsor for the Leadership Awards, being the group CEO of this. I still think we are failing somewhere, that we have just made it a once a year event. I think this should be a continuous event. It should not be a thing that someone does or attends for an evening and then forgets about it. The purpose or the cause of it is broad enough that you can have it, probably every month, some kind of event going around it, and create a much wider sensibility to this particular cause across all organizations. So my primary thing is, how can I make it a year-long activity, as opposed to just, once a year, or this time it's because of COVID, we skipped a year. But can we do it better and make sure the impact is measurable to the cause that we are trying to trend to, from that.
Right, and it will also bring women into conversation. Otherwise, all the women with their fantastic achievements, I think, kind of get showcased all together. But yes. I think this is a fantastic suggestion. Linked to it is the next question. In India, we see a gender digital divide. So it's estimated also that AI will have an impact on jobs that women do the most. So empowering women to use technology could be a game changer. But the gap exists right now. So how do we narrow this gap?
I think there are lots of forces acting naturally to bridge the gender divide. This is not to say that anything anyone can do to help it or accelerate it should happen. Some of the things that you said, when we were farmers and hunters, there were roles that were divided, across genders, and that continued for a very long time. But if you look at advanced countries, where automation came, let's say 40, 50 years ago, you saw women doing those jobs which were only possible because of strength division between the two genders. So someone had to drive a truck and the truck didn't have automation. Then it was a case for a gender discrimination at that point in time because they naturally suited that kind of role. But 30, 40 years when I went on my first trip, I was surprised to see that women can drive it as easily because everything was power, transmission and power, everything. So you didn't need those big muscles to do a particular job. That has allowed women to enter into a lot of fields where sheer strength is not the only criteria to be in that particular area. And as AI continues to pervade, a lot of these things will become how strategic you are, then how much strength you have in terms of your thought process. And it becomes a good case for better bridging of gender equality, so as to say. I personally think work from home, while came from a very different context, is a good catalyst for gender diversity as well, because you don't have to be in office, which typically is biased towards men than women who have to look after multiple roles. Is a better outcome for gender diversity in terms of this. I think as the auto industry moves towards automatic driving, auto navigation, you have the ability to live further off and without having to worry about some of these causes of travel. I think working remotely or working from a further off place might become more possible in not too distant future. All these, as well as the impact for all the people that they are trying to do to bridge the gap, and both men and women, I think, contribute together to form a better basis for gender equality in the future. And I'm very hopeful of that.
So while we try to do that, we're still seeing that when it comes to digital inclusion or digital literacy, women in India, in the vast swath of the country, are kind of left behind. How can that be spurred, and how can we make sure that women are then equal partners and society progresses as a whole?
Sure, I think there are lots of people who are working towards this cause. The progress is slow when you look at year after year, but if you look at 10, 20, 30 kind of time frame, I think everything is very, very possible, in terms of bridging the gap. Internet certainly has been a very important catalyst in making this happen. And as the nature of jobs change to more emotional intelligence, to more knowledge, I think the gender diversity will continue to be bridged across tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities. I think in metros, some of us have the advantage to see everything, but as tier 4 and tier 5 cities get to experience the world through connectivity, I think the gap is going to be certainly much lesser in 10, 20 years. So if you look at the age of the earth, which is millions of years, I think 1020 is something we should be hopeful that it could have a meaningful change in this.
And here's hoping that things change quickly and fast for women so that they can be equal partners in our society. Mr. Gautam Sinha, thank you very much for all your suggestions and your time today.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.